Welcome to another explainer. Today, we're setting our sights on a piece of media that, on the surface, looks completely ordinary, but underneath, it harbors a staggering level of surrealism. We are actually going to conduct a rigorous academic analysis of a seemingly bizarre 100-word transcript from a Cocomelon playdate sing-along. Yep, you heard that right. We're treating this super short children's nursery rhyme as a complex text that is totally worthy of deep linguistic deconstruction. So let's just dive right in and uncover the hidden anatomy of a frog song.
Right out of the gate, the text kicks off with this massive burst of pure, unadulterated energy. Come along playdates with some real friends. Yeah. Notice that energetic entry. It immediately establishes the core characters, these real friends, and sets a joyful, upbeat, and entirely conventional tone. The audience is invited into this space that feels familiar and completely safe. We're instantly grounded in the expected rhythm of a classic sing-along. But, as you'll see, this baseline of normalcy is exactly what makes the upcoming linguistic deviations so incredibly jarring.
Here's our roadmap for today's breakdown. First, the Cocomelon phenomenon. Second, establishing the frog motif. Third, analyzing the onomatopoeia. Fourth, the surreal dog shift. Fifth, the inanimate rock anomaly. And finally, number 6, resolution and final crescendo.
Okay, let's jump into section 1, the Cocomelon phenomenon, setting the stage.
The narrator starts us off with a super grounding, perfectly logical premise. I can hear the little frog. This is actually crucial. By setting up an expected scenario, hearing an animal in your environment, the text anchors us right in reality. You hear a frog, you identify the frog, and within the context of a children's rhyme, you naturally expect that frog to make a corresponding sound. It's a classic call and response setup that really just lulls us into a false sense of linguistic security.
Moving right along to section 2, establishing the frog motif, the baseline.
Now, to really understand the frog's baseline, we've got to formally define our primary literary device here, onomatopoeia. It's simply the formation of a word from a sound associated with what is named. Think of words like cuckoo or sizzle. What's so fascinating here is that the text initially relies entirely on this totally predictable phonetic structure to build its world. The frog makes literal frog noises. It makes perfect logical sense. It's the definition of linguistic order.
Which brings us to section 3, analyzing the onomatopoeia, rhythmic data. So the really crucial point is hiding right here in the data. In the opening sequences, we get a near-perfect balance of expected, complete sounds. A full croak appears 7 times, and ribbit pops up 8 times. It's rhythmic, it's bouncy, it's exactly what you'd expect. But pay attention to this second data point. We have 2 very specific instances of the partial clipped word, crow. So even within this foundational frog motif, the structural integrity of the song's language is already beginning to fracture.
And this comparison brilliantly illustrates that exact fracture. Just compare the end of the first verse to the second. We go from a stable, completed thought, croak, 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 to an abruptly shortened croak, croak, crow. The language is literally degrading before our eyes. The word just fails to finish forming. It's a sudden, weirdly fascinating drop-off that signals to us that the rules of this universe are beginning to bend.
Now for section 4, the surreal dog shift, a break in logic. Let's see how things escalate from our fractured frog. We have our frog doing its job, giving us a standard croak, croak, ribbit. Then the narrator hears a dog. Now, any normal person expects a woof or a bark, right? But instead, the dog sings ribbit, ribbon, ribbon, float. I mean, this is an absolute masterpiece of absurdity. The dog has completely appropriated the frog's ribbit, mutated it phonetically into the totally unrelated noun ribbon, and fully abandoned any attempt at making a logical animal noise.
I really want to zero in on the culmination of the dog song, ribbon, 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 float. Let's just focus on that final word for a second. Why float? It's an unexpected verb that entirely severs the dog from any logical auditory association. It doesn't sound like a dog, it doesn't sound like a ribbon, it describes a state of buoyancy. The text has completely untethered itself from reality at this point, and the absurdity is escalating exponentially.
That takes us to section 5, the inanimate rock anomaly, complete deconstruction.
Out of nowhere, the narrator cheerfully announces that they can hear the little rock. Presenting this noun phrase in stark isolation really emphasizes the sheer, unapologetic absurdity of this moment. We are suddenly bringing geology into a children's sing-along. A rock, by the very laws of physics, doesn't have vocal cords. It doesn't sing. It doesn't speak. Which obviously forces us to ask, why on earth would you ask a rock to sing? What happens to language and to our expectations when you demand a song from something inherently silent?
This is the text's total unapologetic break from reality. The logical rules established just paragraphs ago with the frog are entirely gone, completely replaced by this kind of dream logic where minerals are expected to put on a performance.
And how does the rock respond to this prompt? Would you like to sing its song H? Its song is literally just the solitary letter H. This is the ultimate collapse of the transcript's language structure. It isn't a word, it's not even an onomatopoeia, it's a single, uncapitalized consonant. It's the sound of a breath, an exhalation, maybe the literal sound of silence itself. It's breathtakingly minimalist and deeply, wonderfully chaotic.
Finally, we reach Section 6, Resolution and Final Crescendo, Return to Form.
If we map this chronological progression out, you can clearly track the journey of our speakers. First, the frog sings, establishing our norm. Second, the dog sings, breaking the internal logic. Third, the rock sings, destroying the concept of language entirely. And fourth, the frog returns. It's a circular journey, attempting to pull us back to our starting motif and maybe provide a little sense of closure.
But make no mistake, the frog has been permanently altered by this surreal linguistic journey. The frog returns, yes, but its signature croak is entirely gone. Instead, we're introduced to a new active verb, grow. The frog now sings grow you like to grow it. The familiar ribbit remains, kind of grounding us slightly in the past, but the fundamental action has evolved. The frog isn't just making a sound anymore, it's demanding growth. It has been transformed by the chaos.
And then we hit this, yay, yay. This is the final quote of the text. It acts as an abrupt, wildly celebratory end to what has honestly been an absolutely chaotic linguistic ride. It's almost as if the transcript itself is congratulating the characters, and us, the listeners, for surviving its own rigorous deconstruction of language and logic. The song is over, and the chaos has just resolved into pure enthusiasm.
So, I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. What does this shifting structure teach us about the bounds of expected media? When a simple 100-word children's text can harbor this level of hidden surrealism, morphing from frogs to ribbon-floating dogs to rocks that literally whisper the letter H, it makes you wonder what else we might be entirely